Tony D and Little Joan here with a screenwriter's rant on The Hater, a comedy movie about politics, but one that actually looks not too bad. I'm very suspicious. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. I'm not enunciating well. Check out my books. Links in the description. You have been. Thank you for that. So the premise of this movie is your main character here. I forget her name. I guess this is Joey Alley. She is a liberal Democrat, environmentalist. She's working in California as a speechwriter, and there's some controversy with a protest, and she gets fired. 20 years prior, she ran for student governor against this kid and lost. But now she moved to LA from Texas and she's forced to move back. And she ends up moving back in with her estranged grandfather, played by Bruce Dern, which is a good sign. He's a good actor. And she reconnects with old friends from her high school, including the guy who beat her in high school for class president. He is now running as the Republican candidate for the state legislature. And there's Nora Dunn. She's in it too. So she sees that and decides she's going to run too. Now, he's running as a Republican. She decides she's going to run as a Republican because if she can beat the Republican candidate and then drop out of and become the Republican candidate, like if she can win the primary and then drop out, the Democratic candidate will finally win. So it's very sneaky, and I assume it's based on actual loopholes. So she has to completely reinvent herself, right? She's a West Coast California liberal, essentially, who left Texas for all this, and due to circumstance, she ends up becoming the winner. She ends up in this armed robbery and accidentally foils it, and she grabbed the guy's gun, and it looks like she literally just disarmed the gun and knows stuff so much about guns that she could win this thing. So she has to dress nicer and be more feminine and beat this guy. But it's about her beating her old rival, who I guess they have a romantic thing going on too. I guess that's part of the deal. And then of course she see how she cleans up nice. She is ugly as in Hollywood ugly, meaning that she's not ugly at all, but they dress her down in the beginning and then later she gets a makeover. So then the question becomes, even though she's about to win this thing, will she actually win it and then drop out as she planned to do to give it to the Democrats, or will she actually be a good politician, maybe win the whole thing and be the politician? Because they're basically saying in a Texas primary, like it's assumed the Republican would win, which is a bizarre thing. It's there's so much here to unpack from a political side, because understand the Democrats right now are pouring money into Texas to try to turn it to blue, to try to get Beto O'Rourke of all people elected. So it's very interesting when really it's the opposite that's true in say a state like California, right? A place like San Francisco, which even the Democrats make jokes about. Places in New York, they're so deep blue you could never get a Republican elected. So if they actually flip the parties here, that would have, to me, been more realistic. But it is true that this movie seems to be more even-handed with the politics than you might imagine, because it has to be. From a screenwriting standpoint, it couldn't be that this woman and her very left-wing politics are just always right and then she wins the day and that's it. The movie's called The Hater, and it's about her hatred for the other kid that beat her in an election when she was in high school. Right? So it's really about that. And then they seem to have like chemistry between them. So he may be the love interest here. Although they sort of portray him as a guy who really doesn't want to be, he doesn't really want to be in politics. That he may just say, forget this. Which may, the ending of this movie may not be totally what I want personally, but it probably breaks down something like this. First act, Joey gets fired. Well, first we see this flashback. She gets beat, and then 20 years later, she loses her job as a speechwriter. She's living out of LA. She's got a nose through a ring. She's also progressive, but she's also kind of miserable. See how and look how her eyes are sunken in, and she's not having a good time. Look at how she's dressed. She's dressed like a freaking communist, right? And she leaves her gay roommate and goes back to Texas, and she's just miserable in the first act. And people pointed out, like the other, oh wow, written, directed, and starring Joey Alley. Wow, you did everything. Impressive. And I'm liking the balance here, Joey. I hope you go the whole way. Hope you go the whole way. So she's forced to become more feminine. She's forced to become more traditional to win this thing. And in that process, she learns something because she would have to, or otherwise her character wouldn't change. So here she accidentally disarms this guy and starts winning. So that's the second act. The second act, she decides to run, and she takes on the persona of a Republican. And Nora Dunn apparently teams up to help her to beat this guy because he's from a family that's run the district for God knows how long. And Bruce Dern is there, of course, saying, stay true to yourself, grandchild. Although he's usually a little more grumpier. He seems to be softballing it here. And then she falls in love with her rival, I guess. And then it's about, will she do, she can win this thing. Will she actually win it? Do people actually believe in her and the persona she's created? And she's created a good one. Even though she's a Republican. Ostensibly she's not, but maybe through the process, what I would like to see in the process of pretending to be a Republican, she realizes, there's not much difference between the left and right, and she just has to be a good person, be true to herself, and, be honest and, do what people want to do. That's the way I could see it ending. That she wins, and then she actually fulfills basically the Republican narrative of a really good conservative. Because she sort of gets red-pilled. That's what I would want to see. Now, will we see that? I doubt it. It's from Vertical Entertainment. Maybe? I think what we're actually going to see is probably she either... I mean, the biggest cop-out would be she just drops out. Or she loses. And the other guy wins, and it's like business as usual, and then it's a statement about, oh, you can't beat City Hall or whatever. Or she falls in love with him and just becomes his wife and decides to sort of work the process from within. As his wife, and maybe together they kind of co-run things. There's a bit of a speech towards the end of the trailer by Bruce Dern about kind of being true to yourself, but she's sitting in the audience for that speech, so I don't know. Maybe she just loses. Maybe she gets exposed for the phony that she is and then loses. That would make the most realistic sense. It does look funny and amusing in kind of a dramedy sort of way. And I'm not big on dramedies, but it kind of does look funny. But in order for her to start at the point of, oh, I'm super liberal and oh, I hate everybody who's Republican, you'd have to change. So the natural progression would be to get to a point where she realizes, man, I was too extreme. I was way too extreme. And I wrote off people I shouldn't have wrote off just because I disagree with them politically. Now I've sort of run this campaign, and I lived with people again in Texas, and I was too hard on them. I was just a kid. Now I've sort of refined my beliefs. Not necessarily that she becomes a Republican, but she gets a bit red-pilled and based, and she's more moderate now. She's more grown up about her views. That's what I would like to see in the third act. Will we see it? I don't know. But it's an interesting movie. The synopsis was very interesting too, because it seems to imply that sort of balance in the synopsis. I don't know who wrote this. I assume she did, since she wrote, directed, and starred in it. So, unable to hide her feelings on the campaign trail, even as she plays a role, Dorothy discovers that good versus evil isn't necessarily as simple as left and right. That's a good message. Even if her politics are really all about saving the rainforest at the end, you can take it too far. So that's a good message. It's a good message for the left, I'll tell you that. So I think this could be a good movie. I think. I have no other info on it other than, it's called The Hater, Bruce Dern, Nora Dunn. Let's see. See if they got any more info on this. Yeah. Stars Ruby June Arnold. Let's see. Joey Alley. Yeah, she's the main character. Nora Dunn. There she is. Where's Bruce Dern? I'm sure he's on here somewhere. That's definitely Bruce Dern. A bunch of other actors who I don't know. No, I don't know any of these guys. That has to be Bruce Dern. It has to be him. How can it not be Bruce Dern? I don't know. His name's not on the list for some reason, but wow, a lot of executive producers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 executive producers. Joey Alley should be an executive producer in that. That is not giving it away. She should absolutely have that credit doing all this work. The rest of the guys, I don't know. They're probably the money guys. You gotta bring a little bit to the table, I would imagine. Producer, 3 producers, associate producers. Those are the guys who do basically most of the work. Damn, I can't believe Bruce Dern is not listed here. He's got to be in it. That's him. That's absolutely him. I can't believe he's not listed here. Is he unlisted? Is he uncredited? I don't think so. He's probably not in it. He's a supporting character. I don't know if he's a main guy in the movie. He may. Why wouldn't you put Bruce Dern on here? You must have left him off by mistake, or I'm just missing his name going up and down this list. All right, that's definitely the movie. And good on Joey Alley. This is impressive. It looks like a really good movie. I mean, it's got a solid plot. You've got good characters. You got 2 big names in this. Pretty big. Nora Dunn. She's been in movies. I know. She's an SNL cast member. Not particularly a great one in my view, but, I think her movie career's done better than SNL, as a lot of SNL alumni end up. These days, anyway. But she's doing all right for herself. She's got a niche, I think. And she's funny. She's funny enough to be in a movie like this, certainly. So this looks like fun. Okay. I might see this movie. I have no idea when it's coming out, though. Wish there was a little more info. That's my only criticism of this trailer, which I criticize in a lot of trailers. It's like, put the damn dates in here. See, it says here, I'll watch anything with Bruce Dern. He's a machine. Yeah, why isn't he on the IMDb? Did they ban him from IMDb? I don't know. Anyhow, so that's it. Check out The Hater, I assume, within the next couple of months. Probably. This should be in theaters. This would be an interesting movie to put in theaters and make big. But, a one-woman deal. I don't know if they'll do that. I don't know if they'll give it the wide distribution it needs or it should get. Maybe because it's an all, it's a one woman operation essentially. Not one woman. You know what I'm saying? She's done the heavy lifting here, and I'm impressed. It's impressive to get a movie done all by yourself and star in it. That's impressive. And it looks good. So I think she deserves that, Hollywood. Give her a chance. This is what you want. Empowered women, directors. Here's a woman who did it all. And everything about this is like telling me it's a decent flick. So don't just put it direct to DVD, direct to streaming. Give it some chance in the theaters. Maybe you could take a couple of screens down for the Batman. You know what I'm saying? Just in your endless pursuit of like, oh, we got the highest box office in a weekend. Anyhow, that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. Check us out on Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble for News Blast, a Hollywoke hot take, or more based takes, and we'll see you tomorrow.